Welcome everyone. We're going to cover pretty much what we've sent to you, and we'll at the end have the opportunity to take some questions. My name is Nelly Marcial. I'm the director of the Transfer Center, and we also have joining us Dr. Sheldon Turner, who's faculty with Geology and Environmental Sciences. We're going to be covering some of the work on the Pillar 1 map work group, which you've probably been hearing a lot about lately. So pretty much a lot of what we've been doing is based on the research around the Community College Research Center through Columbia University. And the idea is that we want to give students less options, but very thoughtful, thorough choices, because through the paradox of choice, the research shows that when you give people too many options, they become paralyzed. And the example I always give is at a restaurant, right? You have a prefix menu, you have less to choose from, it's less overwhelming than when you have a menu that is full of different varieties. So that's what we've been incorporating in the maps, which are essentially the academic plans that are listed in the catalog. We've done some research and shortened them up a bit. As you can see, the work group is consisted of both faculty from different areas as well as student-facing areas. And the idea is that we want to get the thoughts and feedback from different perspectives, because we know that both student-facing and faculty have different concerns when it comes to using tools and advising with these tools, and how students are going to also perceive them is very key. This outlines a timeline of where we started. So back in spring 2020, we came together as a committee. Sheldon and I are the co-chairs, but as you saw in the previous slide, we have a lot of people who are assisting with all of the research and the creation of these maps. In spring 2020, we started meeting both in person and then via Zoom, usually weekly, to talk about the transfer maps. We started breaking those down, and we started researching our top transfer destinations per major. We also made sure that the transfer guides were all posted on our website. And we also looked at how often courses are taught. And that's information that we can look at when we're meeting with you one-on-one, going over these maps. In summer 2020, we started breaking down the associate and applied science degrees as well as the certificates. We also started to incorporate more people in the committee, and they've been working on things like the guiding principles along with us and making sure that we are in compliance with those guiding principles. We also created the template along with marketing so that it's personalized to Triton College, and you should have also seen that in the email to the chairs. And we've uploaded the content into these templates. Now in fall 2020, what we're going to start doing this actually as of today and tomorrow, we're going to start sending email meetings so that we can start meeting with faculty in different areas and start the vetting process. So now that we've done all this work, what are your thoughts? What are your ideas? What did you like? What didn't you like? What may or may not work? This is the semester, or this is now fall 2020, and we're going to be vetting. So please take the opportunity, if you haven't done so already, to take a look at these in thoroughly and provide some feedback and thoughts. And our hope is that by November, we can submit some of these changes, or the majority of these changes, into the new catalog. So the guiding principles is something that I mentioned earlier, and these are just, I would say, kind of like the what we kept in mind when when creating these maps. So for example, the general education courses should all be II. If not, then there needs to be a justification. The exception was with the AAS maps, because I know that takes more vetting through curriculum. We also have recommended electives, and those are based on the majors. We also require or highly encourage students to take the College 102 course because that is in the board policy. and it is in the developmental education sequence box on top as a highly recommended elective. We also incorporated major courses. So for example, if a student is pursuing chemistry, we encourage them to take chemistry their first semester if they're eligible. Same with criminal justice. If their major is criminal justice, they should probably start by exploring with that class their first semester. When applicable, we also, especially for the associate in arts degrees, you'll see that students can stack the GCC credential in there. We've also looked at transfer programs based on top transfer institutions by major first and then by institution. Sometimes it's hard to get a lot of this data from the National Clearinghouse, which is provided through our institutional research office. And we've also made decisions based on how often courses are taught. So as mentioned before, we did a lot of research with our own institutional research, and they got a lot of information from the National Student Clearinghouse to look at trends at the top transfer destinations, which tend to be UIC, Northeastern, Dominican, Elmhurst University. Those tend to be the top 4, but those are not the only universities. We also took into consideration that there are some programs that have very strong relations with other institutions and great transfer guides. We also looked at transferology, which is a really good tool for a lot of in-state institutions as well as some out-of-state. Some universities like UIC exclusively only use transferology for their transfer guides. Also, the transfer guides and partnerships, which are on our website. We also consulted the advice from the Achieving the Dream coaches, which visit us a couple of times a semester to just give their recommendations on the process. We benchmarked with other community colleges. We actually spoke with Alamo College, who was got recognized for all of their work, all of their good work on the guided pathways process. The Alamo Community College System is in Texas. Other benchmarking institutions that we looked at were Harper College, Jackson College, as well as city colleges. And lastly, we created student focus groups just to find what they thought about the usability, the friendliness of the transfer maps. I'm sorry, the maps, not the transfer, all of the maps. Yeah.
Thank you, Nelly. So, like she was saying, the whole idea of guided pathways, right, is to make the student experience smoother, more clear. That's really pillar was about clarifying the path, making it easier for them to figure out their way through. And so, obviously, this tool we're creating that is meant to be a tool used by students to work with advisors. Help them come up with their own academic plan. We wanted to make sure that it makes sense for them. So, we haven't finished all the vetting and exact courses with faculty yet, but before we even got there, we wanted to make sure that what we're building worked for students. And so, we had some student focus groups and got a lot of really great feedback. So, the thing I'm going to show you next, which is sort of what the maps are going to look like for every program on campus. It's based on, marketing and that kind of thing, but also then the students' feedback and what they liked and didn't like and found useful. So you can see here, that it's something really easy to navigate. It's, easy on the eyes. I know in my own teaching, right, if I throw up figures and stuff on the board that are way too complicated, that they just sort of glaze over and can't figure it out. So we wanted to make sure that it had all the relevant information, but laid out in a way that students could really use it and not get overwhelmed. Because if you hand a student a catalog, if you give yourself the catalog and try figuring out how to get a degree, it's not that easy of a process. So we really wanted to streamline it. So let me show you. This is just an example. Again, some of this has already changed based on this feedback. But for some of the things that you may have heard going around is that we now have these areas of study. And so one of them, for example, is arts, humanities, and social sciences. So students, when they first come to Triton, are going to pick sort of what area of study are they in. And then eventually they'll sort of lead into a more specific pathway, like this one, speech communication. Then a very nice brief sort of blurb on what you could do with this degree. And then the sort of your sort of placement, where you are in math and English. And again, this even has been edited since then. But you can see the overall layout, what this would look like. Each area of study is sort of going to have its own color and iconography. And that way, if a student's working, if they're within like humanities and social science, and they eventually decide to change majors after a semester, it's not going to be a big deal because a lot of these paths are sort of built in parallel. This then is an example of what this looks like. So here's like the first 2 semesters of this map. And you can see we have, some of the things we're like trying to spread it out to where, they're taking a mix of different types of classes. So we're not stacking up all of our English classes at once or all of our math classes at once, something like that. So you can see how it's laid out here. Now, sometimes, like in this example, the social behavioral science gen ed course that they need isn't given. It's sort of open-ended because when we did the research, when we looked at transfer institutions, it didn't really matter for this particular major when they're going for like a BA, what they use for social science. Same thing you see for life science here.
Yeah, is life biology?
Question.
Is life?
Yeah, life science is biology, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And so again, same thing for a speech communication major, it won't really matter. Now for other majors, it's really important that their life science is like BIS 150 or something. So in that case, it will be written out in here of which class they should be taking. So like for here, their fine arts, general education, it's useful to have this film history because we found that as a common trend at the universities. And then at the end of the map, after the 4 semesters, however long that program is, we also did this for all the applied degrees and certificates. So some of those are much shorter. We have a list of sort of program electives. Now, this might not be every class in speech or in film, in mass media, but these are the ones, again, that we found are transferable, that are commonly used at the transfer institution. So, all the classes will come, and a lot of them, if they're all IAI, they'll come in as general education credits, but we wanted to make sure we had ones that are, they're not going to have to retake again once they get there. So that's sort of where these decisions and things were made. And again, we sort of went through that, and now the ones that we've sent to faculty don't quite look this nice. They're more in like just a red Word document instead of this nice PDF. But this is what we need help with now. Is sort of, now that we have this, you can see where we are today. We've sent all these out just the other week. We're now getting feedback from faculty. Again, if you're faculty and I haven't heard about this, talk to your chair. That's usually who got the original email. If you want to be a part of this and sort of editing and making sure that we put the right classes in, that we didn't put in classes that aren't being taught anymore, or that we maybe missed a class that really should be a part of it because there's some partnership with the university we don't know about, things like that. And we're hoping, again, our goal is to try getting all this in by November, because then these new maps could be the new curriculum. The new catalog will have every program at Triton sort of filled out this way. So that's sort of where we are. We wanted to keep this short so we could have time for questions, that kind of thing. Again, I have some examples of like the AASs or certificates if anyone wants to see those. So it just sort of depends what areas you have and what questions you have. And we can open it up for discussion.
This sounds like an internship.
What do you mean?
This sounds like an internship preview. Internship?
Yeah, just try. Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like to help students find internships, or?
I'm just gonna throw. I don't understand that either, but Sheldon and Nelly, this is really great. I know that in our department we actually did go through the programs that you guys sent us, and it was actually great to take sort of a high view of our programs and really sit down and determine where we feel our students should go. And I think it's going to be a really great program moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. And a lot of the departments, that's sort of the feedback we've been getting, and we're really glad because again, this is an opportunity to change, really think about what we could change. In the past, it's sort of, oh well, there's been a curricular change at the state, so we have to quickly fix some things. But now it's really we get to look at it like you said, sort of that big holistic approach
Yeah, I
and
mean,
figure out what's best for our students.
yeah, and so yeah, it was great because like even for to just ideas to others that are listening, for ours is we looked at programs and we were like, well, why is this class being offered both spring and fall in different programs? What we should just match them and line them up so that they're, for each program, this class, if it touches in different programs, is always being offered fall or always being offered spring. Where before, I thought it was just, I think it's a great path, and it will get students through faster too, I think.
Yeah, that is really a big goal. Just trying to help, and there's some way, especially for like, the AA degrees, where there's a possibility for a lot of them. We built it so like the student can get a GECC, which is sort of a general education certificate that could, if they don't want to finish the full associate's degree, they could transfer with that and have their gen eds done at a university. So, there's a chance to get out in 3 semesters, and we still sort of get, it's still considered completing here at Triton.
This looks like a flow chart.
Sorry?
This looks like a flow chart.
Yeah, so this last one, this is our sort of what we've been working on and where we are. Again, we'd really like to see these out, possibly by spring. Students maybe even can start seeing them at least by fall, but it takes a semester to get everything into the catalog and out there. This is going along with the whole website redesign. So all of these areas of study are going to have their own sort of websites, built onto the Triton page with career information and job outlook, and then links to all of these maps we're making. These maps will also be sort of housed on the internet. And so, there's going to be live links and stuff of like what semester to go to the transfer center, and what semester to do this or that. That was sort of what was left off here, these next steps.
Yeah.
These have now been filled out. Did you want to add something, Nelly?
And also, you'll see too, I'm sorry, I don't recall if it was addressed, but like a lot of the times we found that there are many opportunities for students to complete many certificates while they're pursuing their bachelor's degree. So I think that's another great thing, that when students see that visually, that's going to hopefully encourage them to complete more along the way.
I see humanities and social science, but are there any philosophy courses in there? I teach philosophy at Triton.
Yes, definitely. And so we've created a philosophy map like this that's specifically for students that want to do philosophy. But then a lot of our philosophy classes are in the humanities general education course. So when students need to fill this requirement, that's a common course they might be taking, like Philosophy 101 or something. Now, for some degrees, it's actually something that they really need for the bachelor's degree. And in that case, we'll go ahead and put it in, Philosophy, whichever 101 or whatever it is for that degree. So every single one of these is sort of going to be different based on what the research found. But yeah, and actually, your chair has sent us back feedback on those, but you can see it from him if you'd like to. What we've created for philosophy, and again, that's one of those ones where there's probably it's a lot of electives how students will decide, and that's where all of this will require working with an advisor. These aren't meant to like replace advisors in any way. These are just meant to be a communication tool for students to have a better sense of what they're doing and work with the advisor. So every single student will make their own plan. That's why we didn't assign every single course on here. If that was a case, it would be more like a certificate, right, where you take these set of 4 courses and you have it. A degree shouldn't be that, so we didn't try making it that. And then like what Nelly was saying, so this is an applied degree, an AAS, but what we've added are these things of like, okay, which classes count towards certificates? So by the time a student gets this AAS, they could actually have a mechatronics certificate. If they take specific electives, they can also get a CAD certificate on the way. And that's sort of what we're calling these stackable certificates. And then again, the program electives will be down here. So, there's a lot more courses than this, but we've tried narrowing it down to the ones that are most relevant for these particular degree paths.
Has everyone here had an opportunity to look at what this looks like, the ones that we sent?
I see the word credit hours. So Pathways is studied through credit hours. You get credit hours for guided pathways.
So these are the degrees that we offer here at Triton. So what we're doing is we're trying to make it easier to get an associate's degree at Triton College. So this isn't anything new or separate. This is just the normal way, the normal degree students would be getting. It's just Pathways is about helping them map it out, making it much more clear than them having to piece it together from a bunch of different tables and stuff in the catalog. But guided pathways is a lot more than this too. Again, we didn't go into that in this, but there's been a few workshops and things and videos out there. But really, pathways is the whole student experience. So this is just their degree path, but it also includes all the wraparound supports and the advisors and the transferring and counselors and librarians and financial aid. All those things sort of going in, being more student focused and student centered. Instead of just being a bunch of separate offices that the students somehow has to find their way to get to, having it really be more clear, more straightforward. We're just working on that first part of getting their degrees sort of easier to read and easier to figure out. If there's no other questions, thank you for being here. And also, again, please encourage your colleagues to really take a look, even if your chairs already respond or not. This is something affecting all of campus. There's no faculty or staff on campus that isn't affected by guided pathways in some way. So please check out the portal site for pathways to see sort of where you might fit in. There's a lot more work to go. It's going to be many years of restructuring and redesigning our campus around these principles.
Thank you, Nelly and Sheldon. I'm really sorry my connection in where I live today has been on and off all day. So it was a great presentation. It is going to be recorded, and Angela and I are going to make sure that people that weren't able to attend live can at least come and watch the video, because I think it was very, very informative.
Thank you.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Okay.
You too.
You too.
Okay,
Bye.
Yeah.
bye.